Hello, everyone. Now about me, this person right here. I'm Anders Damkjær Nielsen. It's a Danish name because I'm from Denmark, because that's where our primary office is. I'm 1 year younger than Himsa. I work as the product manager, which means that I'm overseeing and designing the Himsa products, and I'm communicating with Himsa member companies for when they want to make integrations to Himsa products. Anyway, let us move beyond the introductions. Today's topic, it really is much easier. So, of course, what is easier? And there are a number of things that are easier with NoIES. For example, sign up, setup, networking, administration, security and compliance, and support. Starting with what NoIES is. NoIES, the ES stands for Extended Services. This is because it is essentially it uses NOA system as our foundation, and then it builds on top of this. So it's extending the services. In this case, it's extending the services by providing a cloud-based form of NOA. The benefit of this is that the database, the backend, and the management is hosted by Himsa. Effectively, what this means is that unlike NOA system, you don't have to have a server. You don't have to have the server somewhere. You don't need to make the backups. You don't need to take care of any of that. All of that is handled by Himsa. What this also means is that you have access to your NOA ES data anywhere and anytime, as long as you have an internet connection. This means that the time of bringing a VPN, setting up a VPN back to your office, connecting through the VPN and all that is over. Now you just bring your computer with you, you open NOA, the NOA ES client, you log into it, and then you have access to your patient data no matter where you are. You don't even need to be using your own computer. And then if some of you are thinking that sounds kind of risky, what if someone else just, ABC123? They can't. Of course, because NOA ES is what it is, because it's a cloud solution, you're going to be using your own email and a password that you've defined for yourself to log in. So as long as you keep that secure, and you can even use multi-factor authentication, as long as you're taking these steps, it is actually far safer than NOA system. Because if someone steals your laptop with your NOA ES client, they don't get any of your patient data. Nothing is stored locally. And we receive a lot of concerns about what happens if I don't have internet. And the situation right now is that, well, you can still work. You obviously won't have immediate access to all of the patient data you have. But what you do get with NOA ES and version 4.15 and later is that you get this offline license. Effectively, you log into NOA ES, and then as long as you've logged into NOA ES for the last 30 days, you can log into your local NOA system database, because the program is essentially the same. You have access to both and can swap between them as you desire. NOA ES also provides much better scalability. Some of you may have run into the issue of the NOA system's somewhat limited database size, where you then have to upgrade to a full SQL server. For NOA ES, we can go all the way up to 150 gigabyte with relatively little harm, which for the vast majority of users is way more than needed, to be honest. There's also no longer the limit of 40 computers. NOA system used to have that you could only have 4 concurrent devices connected to a single server, and NOA ES does not care about this. This is not a problem. This also means that you can use a single NOA ES account to connect all of your shops if you have multiple. All of your shops, all of your traveling clinicians or hearing care professionals can all connect to the same database, no problem. So this sign up and set up. I said it was going to be easy. So let's look at what it actually takes to get started with NOA ES. In this case, there are 4 steps, and the last one is not really much of a step. First, there are some prerequisites. There's something you're going to need to use NOA ES. And if you're coming from NOA system, there's also a step of migration where you're going to need to move some data. But as mentioned, I'll show you that later. 4 prerequisites. The first is that you are located either in the United States, in the European Economic Area, or in the United Kingdoms. This is currently because these are the locations where we have data centers or data regions, which means that that's where we can legally store data. This is where we know what the laws are. And this is going to expand in the future. So if you're not from one of these regions, by all means, keep an eye out, because we will be expanding as soon as we're sure that we do it in the right way. We don't want to expand to a region before we can make sure that we can fulfill the law requirements, because compliance matters to us, and it matters so much to us that we're kind of taking a lot of the compliance and security burden onto us for this product so that you don't have to deal with it. The second thing is that if you're currently working with a NOAA compatible business system or app, then you need to investigate if it supports NOAA ES. Most of the current and existing business systems do not support NOAA ES, because this is something that has to be done specifically by the system business system developers. They have to build this integration. It does not come naturally. This will, we assume, happen over time. And you can go onto our website at any time, where we have a list of all of the current integrated systems, and you will also be able to see in the list whether they support NOAA ES or not. Finally, to use NOAA ES, you're going to need a reliable internet access. The requirements aren't that high. You can actually easily run it with a phone hotspot as well. You can run it Wi-Fi, of course, most of us are used to. Most of the time, it's no big deal. If you have just general access where you work, it'll suffice. You will, of course, have to meet the PCE requirements, but those are actually the same for NOAA System. So if you're running NOAA System right now, there's no reason for why you shouldn't be able to run NOAA ES. And finally, a supported web browser. Currently, we support Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Firefox, and Safari. And as they're all free, we don't see that as much of a barrier to cross. Free and fairly popular, I might add. Second, you're going to need an account. Getting a NOAA ES account is also relatively simple. You go to noaaes.com, easy to remember. Then you request an account and you follow the sign-up link. We'll need some information for your account to be set up. Once that's done, you'll receive some emails, and once you've confirmed your password, you're essentially good to go. I'll just walk you through some of it just to show you how easy it is, but I won't do all the tapping in front of you because, well, you have better ways to spend your time. So, going to noaaes.com, you'll find that it looks like this, and down the side, you'll find this sign up button. Clicking it will take you to a help desk, and this is where you get started with NOAA ES, but it's also where you're going to get support. I'll return to this support question later. Once you click there, we'll need some information. We'll need to know where you are, a little bit about, who is the company. And even if you're not from a currently supported region, we would actually really like to know if you have interest in NOAA ES. One of the main drives for us when selecting the next location is having users in that location saying, NOAA ES would work for me. It's a good solution. It provides what I need. So if you can think, or if you're already thinking NOAA ES is right for me, by all means, head to the portal and let us know. Returning to the account, once you signed up previously, you'll receive a link to the actual sign up. It's quite crucial that you select the location where you are actually located. For example, if you're in the EU, we need this for VAT reasons. Then here, you will notice that there is a possibility to choose either annual billing or monthly billing. And the difference here is that there are actually significant discounts on the annual billing. But also please do note that you get a 30-day free trial, and you should absolutely make use of it. The 150 gigabyte storage is an add-on. It's really not very expensive. For European customers, it's something like €8 a month. And that's not per user or anything. It's just €8 a month to get this add-on. And that'll essentially make sure that you will not be needing additional storage in your database for, well, the next 100 years or more. And then if we look at the pricing, the first thing I'll point out is that you can actually find our price calculator on the website. It's under HIMSA, product NOAA ES and NOAA ES pricing. You can also just search for NOAA ES pricing on the website, and it'll show up and it'll look a little something like this. This is for both the United States and the European Union. If you're in the UK, you're going to want to select the European Union because you will be paying in euros, even though you're not technically in the EU anymore. Here you can basically customize how many users you have, which of the add-ons you will need, and so on, and tailor exactly what you want so you can see exactly the price that you're getting. This is also going to be useful because in the future, as there might be pricing changes, currently we are, and actually last December, we lowered the prices because we're aiming to put the prices as low as possible where they can sustain themselves, but without generating much profit, because this is not a for-profit project. HIMSA in general is not well, we're a for-profit organization acting as a non-profit organization. We're not seeking to generate a lot of money on this. As for the pricing, as mentioned, there are differences to monthly or yearly. You're of course it's perfectly valid choosing monthly either way. And it's done automatically, payment by credit card. You will put in your card information during the account setup, and you get 3 users included with the base account. Here are some of the examples. If you're paying monthly in a EU or UK account, it's €19, and if you're paying annually, it's 14 per user per month with a price ladder. So the more users you have, the cheaper it'll actually be, down to currently a minimum of €10 per user. On top of this, there are the 2 add-ons that I've just showed. And for the US, you can see that it's in dollars instead. We're not aiming to make the prices different between environments, but there are, of course, some exchange rates that'll just cost us. And please do note that if you have 7 or more users, the add-on for additional storage is actually included for free. So you won't need to do that, and that's in the price calculator as well. So when you look at it there, you will see that it's not counted. So returning to account setup. This was a little bit of a tangent, a little sidetrack. But where we were before, we'd chosen, what country are we from? Who are we? And now we're filling in all the boring information. I've, of course, done this in advance because you don't want to see me do this. And yes, we do have an address at the Little Mermaid. That's not true. Following this or during this, you actually also have the option to set up kind of an additional business decision maker. This is in case that you have multiple people that need to be taking decisions on behalf of your company, and you can choose to have someone else set up during this. The business decision maker is the user who can make legal agreements on behalf of your company. But if you have both, say, CEO and someone who's a technical administrator, you can use this function to add the administrator as well, so he can set up the rest of the account while the CEO does CEO things. You can also do this later. It's only a usability feature that it's here. You can add and change the user levels at any time. Of course, there's an agreement. The agreement, I won't go through it right now because it's very, very technical. Obviously, a lot of legal stuff. You're welcome to read it. And I mean, of course, it's not binding before you scroll to the bottom and complete your sign up. And you also get this sent to you when you sign up. You'll receive a mail with the full details. This includes our terms of use and the data processing agreement, which is, of course, compliant with the GDPR and HIPAA if you're in the US. After this, we'll need some card information so we can get the automated payment process going. And then once you've done that and set your password, you're done. That's what it takes. And while you're doing it in real life, I would estimate it to be, less than 5 minutes. It is really, really quite simple and quite quick to do. Then going on to step 3 of our little how to get started. Well, Noah is the software you know. Noah ES does not look that different from Noah System. They share the same foundation. When you have modules installed, as I'm sure many of you do, if you have modules installed on Noah System and you open Noah ES, you will have the same modules as long as they're installed on the specific computer in question. It is included and supported from version 4.14 and up. We recommend going to 4.15 if you want to use Noah ES. But the upgrade path to get there might vary based on where you are right now. If you're on Noah 4.4, you might have to take another couple of steps before you're ready to go to our Noah ES supported version. But the good news is that when you sign up for Noah ES or when you express your interest, feel free to tell us. I'm going from 4.4 and I don't know how to get to 4.15, and we'll help you. And I think actually the best way to kind of show you this is just to show you Noah System and Noah ES. So let's have a small demo. So this is a device, and I have a few things here. I have Noah, the Noah that you know and love, or the one that I know and love. And when you start Noah, some of you might already have noticed that you will see some different server profiles. And this is actually how you engage with Noah ES. You just select the Noah ES server profile in question. So of course, if I'm based in Europe, I want to use the EU one, and if I'm based in the US, you'll use the US one. In this case, I'll just hop into NOAA server first, just to show you that I have a little bit of data in there. So this is NOAA system, perfectly normal, even with a little commercial or advertisement of where we are right now. And we have some very real patients over here. This is all exactly as you know. Do note that we have some modules up here. I've installed some modules in advance just so we have something to look at. And now if I'm actually going to take this data and move it into NOAA ES, the first step is that I'd run our database maintenance tool. You can find this in the link I provided. In this case, I have 3 patients and I know them very well and there's basically nothing on them. So I can skip this, but essentially I'll just show you how it actually looks. Because normally you just run this. What this does is that it gets your data ready to go into NOAA ES. And this is because NOAA ES is, well, it has the best quality of data ever seen in NOAA. And some old patients, some really old data, especially if you're coming from a very old version of NOAA, might not have all the fields and there might be stuff missing and so on. And what this does is just that it corrects it all and makes it nice and fitting with NOAA ES. Normally you just press start, and then depending on how much data you have, it takes between a couple of seconds and an hour, half an hour. And then it would be done and give you a nice little log of what's happened. After that comes the migration tool. The migration tool is a tool we've made specifically for moving your patients from NOAA system into NOAA ES. It's made to do it in an efficient way, so you don't have to use the import-export functions in NOAA. I mean, they work perfectly fine, but the migration tool is just smarter about it. It forms these packages of data that are just more efficient being sent into the cloud. So I would advise you use this, and it's also quite simple. There's a little guide up here. And I know that 45 is indeed the latest, so I'll just generate my files. This is the program trying to access NOAA and saying, please give me all of the data. I'd like to pack it all ready for NOAA ES, and I'd like to encrypt it. So do bear in mind that this tool cannot be used to otherwise, extract your data. It wouldn't help anyone because the data is going to be encrypted and only the tool knows what it did to encrypt it. So no one has any idea of how to get into the data except for the tool itself. Once this happens, this was very quick because I only had 3 patients. You'll notice that there's NOAA ES1 down here. Essentially, it's made a number of encrypted files. In this case, because I had so few patients, it's just made one. It could fit all of it in one file, so it's like, I'm ready, good to go. Then, of course, I choose where I want to put it. In this case, EU, because that's where I have my account. And then you press start if the time zone's correctly. If the time zone is incorrect, then you just fix it. It'll ask you if you want to consent to using this. If you actually can consent to uploading this data. And in most cases, I think you'll find the answer is yes. This was effectively me logging into NOAA ES. I know you didn't see a password, but that's because I've logged in previously on this device. So it's still remembering me, and it's actually less than 2 hours ago. So it remembers that I'm logged in, and it did not think too much about it. Now, for me, it's also going to ask where I want to put the data because I have multiple patient groups. We have a feature called groups and locations, which I don't think we'll cover this time around. But if you have multiple shops, I would advise you to look into it because it might be interesting. In this case, I'll just choose kind of the main group to put my patients in. And then the tool should be going. So now it's running, uploaded, and waiting for processing. And down here, you'll be able to see the status of all your files. And depending on how much data you have, I mean, you're looking at, most people will succeed within half an hour or so. Maybe 2 hours, make sure to do it when you don't have a patient that's going to come knocking. But by all means, you also don't need to, take off multiple days to do this because it won't take that long. And you can easily leave it overnight. And actually, if you have a network NOAA installation, what you can do is that you can start this on the server, and then all of the clients can just continue connecting to the server as normal. Because NOAA server is still functional while this is happening. You just can't use NOAA on the specific device where it's doing this because it's interacting with NOAA and kind of taking the role of a client. Now, I don't think I'm going to let it complete in this case. Maybe we can leave it in the background, though it might complain in a bit because it really does not want NOAA to be running while it's doing stuff. But now I'll log into Noah ES, and again, it skipped my password. So actually, maybe I'll just log out and show you that. But before we do that, this is Noah ES. You'll notice there's not a lot of differences, except of course, there's a lot more data over here. And that's because my database was already populated, in this case, by even more very, very real data. This is, of course, all generated. We're not violating any laws. There's nothing real in any of this. What you will notice is that there's a log off Noah ES here on the top right. You'll also notice that there's some information about your account at the bottom, but otherwise it looks the same. The modules are still here, and if I were to start them, they would work exactly as you're used to. There is one place where Noah ES is slightly different, and that is if you go into administration. And then normally, or with Noah System, you just have the Noah console. With Noah ES, you actually have most of your administration happening not on something on the local device, but in the cloud, because you're administrating the users and the permissions for everyone, assuming, of course, you have these rights within your organization. So in this case, now I'm in the Noah ES portal. I don't need Noah installed to access this. This also means that your administrators don't need a computer with Noah. They can just, from whatever machine they have, if you have an IT administrator, they can just log into the portal. They can view the activity log for if anything's going on. We can actually see the migration I started before. And they can manage users. This is also what you want to do. Once you've signed up for your Noah ES account, you want to go in here and then you want to add the user. You basically just want to give them an email, fill out the rest of the information, click create, and then they'll receive an email with, hello, you have now been attached to a tenant, an account. Please add a password. And from then on, they'll be able to log in with the permissions that you've provided them. Users are generally made on kind of a low-level permission, so they can't do much until you permit them to do something. New users are made as this level 2. And there's a lot of permissions here, so we absolutely won't go through all of them. But it's just to show you that you can actually customize which users have access to which things, or rather which user types. It's quite important to note that this is not a per user thing, it's a per user type. For example, importing and exporting in the NHAX formats, that's something you have to give access to. That does not come default for normal users. So it's also a way you can kind of protect your data a little more than you could in Noah System, because you can delimit these features. I think we'll just show you the logout so I can show you the login, and then we will jump back to the presentation. And it's not terribly exciting to see me logging in, but just to give you an idea, this is what you'd normally be presented with. So here I'd enter, of course, an email. In this case, it already remembers me. There's a cookie saved in the browser that knows, hey, I know that account. And then, you give it the email and you give it the password, and then you log in. And all of the login happens in the browser. And then give it a second or two. And then Noah ES, the Noah ES client will open up and be ready for work, and you'll be good to go. So that was kind of the demonstration. If I have one thing, I guess I should actually note before we move on, it is that we also support single sign-on. What I'm trying to say is that you have, if you have Azure Active Directory, so you're logging in with your Microsoft account, or if you have OpenID Connect, then you would be able to set up login with these. So you don't have to use the login system that we're providing. You can actually use these pre-made ones. It is important to note for the technical ones that we support Azure Active Directory, not regular Active Directory, because regular Active Directory is, of course, it's a local on your network. And since Noah ES is not strictly in your network, we can't really create an interaction there. So moving back to the presentation, just give me a second. And that would be it. That would be how you set up an account, how you log into Noah, and then you'd be using Noah ES. Just make sure to choose the correct Noah ES server profile based on where you're located. You only get an account in the place you sign up for, and there is no exchanging of data between EU and the US, so you won't be able to access your EU account by going the US route. As for networking, I put it on a point, and for Noah ES, it's quite simple. because Noah ES is networked by default. Effectively, we've removed the limits of Noah system. The limits being that you had to have a Noah server. If you have multiple devices, you had to connect the rest of them to one device. You had to set up a LAN network to do this, or you would need a wide area network if you were, multiple shops. And if you had more than 4 GB of data, you would need a Microsoft SQL server. None of that's necessary with Noah ES. Effectively, we've removed most of the challenges that were with administrating your own data and making sure to make backups and so on. I'll return to the backups in a moment, but for networking, there's really nothing to be done with Noah ES because it's all built in. You just add the users, they log into the database, and you're done. Access the patients anytime and anywhere. This is you can also find this on the website. It's just to show that you could have multiple offices, or you could go to offsite visits, home visits, and connect to Noah ES there. I mean, you could use a phone hotspot, or if there's internet on the location, or you could work from home if there's something you need to do after, talking to the patients, coming home. You can just log on from home and do the work there. No extra effort required. As for administration, I just showed you, it's kind of simplified. It's secure, and it does not depend on the Noah ES client. It's all saved in the portal, and you can basically customize these permission setups for your user types, so you are in control of who can access which parts of the data. And as for backups, well, actually, HIMSS has got you covered. Backups are now fully automated. Because we're using Microsoft Azure, there are multiple different levels of backup, way more than Noah System had. In Noah System, I mean, if you lost your device and went to a backup last month, you'd lose the data between now and then. That's not the case with Noah ES, because Noah ES has a continuous backup of everything you have in a safe region, in the case that something would happen to the primary. And we've also got some, it's called point-in-time restore, and some more general backups and so on. Basically, we've got you fully covered, and you don't need to worry about the backups anymore in that regard. You also don't have to clean them out every once in a while. There is the small change, though, that it does mean if you want to restore a backup for whatever reason, you'll need to write us, because it's not something that's trivially done. It's not something you just do and then move along. We will need to essentially get into an agreement with you that we can roll back your database and to what time and so on, make sure that we're not messing anything up. As for security and compliance, which is an increasingly important topic these days, it's very important to say that you still control the data. HIMSA acts as a data processor in GDPR terms with no access to your patient data. We're not using it, we're just keeping it in a couple of boxes in the cloud. And you, of course, we're helping you access it. We're helping when you open the Noah ES client and you log in and so on. But it's still encrypted the whole way down, and we have plenty of materials, privacy policy, data protection, compliance offerings, and data deletion policies that we're very willing to show you, because we know that there's a lot of organizations that are beginning to pay attention to this, and they should. But instead of you having to do all of this on your local server, now we've done it all for you, and you can rely mostly on Noah ES, as long as you make sure to follow good practices yourself. Of course, we can't stop you from exporting your patient data and leaving it somewhere weird, but we can make sure that as long as it's in Noah ES, it is safe as can be. All of the materials can be found, again, at noahes.com. HIMSA also undergoes an independent audit on an annual basis. And this, of course, adds to the whole, HIMSA is taking care of the data, and we're so much taking care of it that we are getting other people to show up and, basically confront us on what we did or did not do well enough. And as it is, we are doing everything we can, and we're making sure that these reports are as close to spotless as can be. It takes a lot of effort, but we think it's worth it, because us doing it still means that you don't have to do it. And of course, all data in Noah ES is encrypted, both at rest and during transit. So no one's going to get their fingers into your data at all. And we are, of course, GDPR and HIPAA compliant. So it's actually never been easier to find your way in this web of compliance. because you don't need to do much in regards to Noah ES. Of course, I know that depends kind of on the size of the operation you're running and so on. But I still think you'll find that even if you are a part of a larger organization, that this is helping. We've done a lot of the groundwork, a lot of the foot slogging, and now we just need to exchange the information, make sure everything's all right, and then move along. As for support, of course, people ask, what do we do with support for Noah ES? Well, actually, that's a little different than Noah System. And it is because with Noah System, generally the rule has been you have to go to the place where you bought your Noah system license. For Noah ES, you go to HIMSA. HIMSA is handling at least primary support through our help desk and our self-help. And we'll also have and have authorized Noah ES support partners that will help us in taking on this burden. So you might still have people in the local area, possibly people you already know. I mean, a lot of the Noah System supporters are probably going to move on to also support Noah ES because it's it's similar, but it's more simple. The lack of a local server and these server connection issues really makes it so much easier. It's also important to note that the first line of support is now self-help. HIMSA can far more easily kind of investigate the issue and provide you some very direct steps to solve whatever the issue is. Usually you don't need to have another person to remote in and assist you. Of course, occasionally that'll be necessary, but vast majority of cases, HIMSA will make sure to keep an updated kind of documentation surrounding known issues and solutions, so you know where to go and where to look, and you can solve them, before your next patient shows up. This also includes a status page for Noah ES. So if you are using Noah ES and you ever get is something going wrong, is something not working, you can just go to the status page and that'll tell you. And I'm proud to say that it has a very, very solid uptime at 99.99%. And actually, we might just have rounded 100, but don't hang me on that because I haven't looked at it today. After that, if you can't find your self-help solutions, by all means, you can go to our help desk and you can type out the issue and you can tell us what's going wrong, and then we'll investigate it. And we'll return to you as quickly as we can with a response, and we'll help you through it, and that won't cost you anything. And then I have actually I don't have, but you had some questions and topics when you signed up for this. So I've taken those and extracted what I could from them, and then I've just given some answers. And once I've gone through these, we'll go into the chat and I'll take a look at everything you've written in there. Because maybe I've already answered something that you had a question for, maybe not. We'll just take it as we move along. So, how do I upgrade from Noah System 4 to Noah ES? Well, you sign up for Noah ES, you perform this database maintenance, and you migrate your patients, and then you start working. That's it. NoahLink Wireless and Noah ES. Well, the NoahLink Wireless and the NoahLink Wireless 2, they work with Noah ES just as they work with Noah System, though it is important to remember that technically they work with the modules more so than with Noah, which means it doesn't matter if you're using Noah System or Noah ES. It's not the important part. So it'll work. Noah compatible management systems. For example, customer relations management. Well, these systems, there are a number of them already made for Noah System. In the case of Noah ES, these do have to be supported independently of Noah System by the business system developers. Noah ES is different enough that they can't take the same implementation and just point it over to Noah ES in the way that we kind of can. We are hoping and looking forward to that some of them will start supporting Noah ES, but it might take a little bit. I mean, there's some work in it on their end. The only two things I can really tell you is that you're always welcome to go to our website where we have a list of all of the systems that currently support Noah ES. And then you're also very welcome to reach out to your favorite systems and ask them about Noah ES. If they're HIMSA member companies, they will know something about it. We are not privy to their plans, but they are. Then there was a question about switching between Noah System and Noah ES. And with the Noah ES client 415, as mentioned previously, you get this offline license that lasts for 30 days. So as long as you've logged into Noah ES once, within the last 30 days, you can technically log into NOAA system anytime you want and perform work on the local database. Most of the time this isn't necessary, but it is a helpful use case in the case that you don't have internet, for example. If there is something wrong with the connection, this is a solution so you can keep working. Once you're done working, you just export the patient from your local database, import them into NOAA ES, and you're golden. And you didn't hear it from me, but the future might hold an improvement to this system. As for patient exports and remote care, with NOAA ES, there's generally not much reason to export your patients. You simply need a computer with the NOAA ES client installed, some internet, and then you have access to your patient's data while you're in the field. So depending on what you need the export for, most of the time it's not necessary, but the patient export feature that's in NOAA system is also in NOAA ES. So by all means, if you need it for something else somehow, or need to move to another business system, you can easily get your data out again. There's nothing preventing you from doing that. And of course, with NOAA ES, there are better integration options for our member companies. So we hope that in time, this will lead to more innovative and interesting solutions that'll be more commonly available because they rely on a product that everyone has access to, more or less. And now for the open floor part of this, I'll just see if I can find your questions. The next question, is Canada considered a part of the US? The answer is no. Canadian data laws are quite different from, well, the US laws. So we're going to have to get involved with and investigate Canada before we can actually provide NOAA ES there. We have had a lot of interest from Canada, but it is a complicated situation, but we definitely hope to get there. So keep your eyes open and eyes and ears, and then hopefully, well, it won't be too long. Can multiple databases be combined into one database? That's a good question. And yes, they can. With the migrator tool I showed you before, you can do just exactly that. If you've made a NOAA ES account and you perform a migration from one office and from a second office, you don't have to do them at the same time or anything, the data will effectively be combined in your NOAA ES database. And if it turns out that you have real duplicates, if there is an Anders Nielsen who's not just named Anders Nielsen, but it's the exact same patient because he was at some point exported and imported, the migrator will go, I see that. I noticed that you're doing this. And then it'll combine them, but it'll only do this when it has absolute certainty, which it's using some underlying data to figure out if it has. So actually, it's quite easy. And I'll also say that we've added a nice new feature in NOAA ES for merging duplicates. So if you are afraid that you already have some duplicates that aren't like a 100% match, NOAA ES actually has some better functionality for doing that and doing it in an easy way. So if we have more than 3 users, we'll need to skip the 30-day free trial, correct? It kind of depends. If you have more than 3 users, what you can also do is that you can use those 30 days to migrate your database. You can basically take 30 days and go, now we have 3 users kind of testing it out, migrating the database, doing kind of all the boring administration stuff. And then whenever you're ready throughout the trial, you just kind of add the extra users. And then once the trial runs out, you will be, billed for whatever period comes next, whether it's monthly or annual. So you don't have to skip the trial. By all means, you can make use of it and make use of it for migration and, for testing the product. But it is true that you can't select more than 3 users at the current time. There might also be a difference coming to that in the future. But I can't say when exactly that's going to drop. So keep your eyes and ears open. I know I'm repeating myself, but do modules get updated automatically, or do they need to be updated on the client and then get updated in ES? The modules are actually completely separate installations from NOAA and from NOAA ES, which means they're updated completely independently of NOAA system on NOAA ES. So you'll need to update the modules in the same way you normally do. We don't do anything about the module update, so I can't say if it's automatic, but I can say that once you've updated it on a specific computer, it is updated for both NOAA system and NOAA ES on that computer. As an integrating device, how easy is it to connect to NOAA? Can we see documentation before buying a license? That's probably a little bit above the scope we're here. I think we're probably a little more in hearing care practitioners. You can see the documentation, but you cannot get the SDK before you buy a license. I think you should reach out to info@himsa.dk if you're looking to integrate with NOAA, because my colleague will be able to send you to the right place. And then we have, can users freely switch between local databases and NOAA ES when using a business systems app? Well, usually not. And that's because the business system is actually going to be using it kind of replaces the NOAA system layer and uses something that's the NOAA engine layer. And this is not really compatible. Usually they have their own databases and so on, which don't relate to NOAA ES, which means that you can't really have a business system and NOAA ES installed on the same device at the same time, at least not yet. We do have one member who has already published their NOAA ES business system. I won't mention them by name, though it's not secret. You can find them on the list on the website. By all means, go ahead and look there. As other members, start showing up on that list, it'll get more and more interesting. What about a business system integration that already has a cloud-based database used by several hundreds of users? How would the migration look like? Okay, so now we're in the slightly bigger scale, which is also perfectly fine. When you're coming from a business system, you're going to need to get your data out somehow. And what NOAA needs is that it needs it in the NHAX format or the encrypted version of that. Most business systems can do that to some extent. So you will essentially need to transfer that data out of the business system. And then you can either use the migrator tool directly on those NHAX files, or you can take it into a NOAA system. In this case, the database would probably be so large that you would need a SQL Server. And then the migrator tool still works with SQL Server. So the migrator tool could take it directly from a SQL Server and put it up into the NOAA ES Cloud. With actual, the part of the question that's like hundreds of users, I mean, you'd only need to strictly do this once. It doesn't matter how many users there are. You just take the whole database and you'd move it into NOAA ES, and that would kind of be that. And NOAA ES can also easily support 100 users. I mean, we have customers who already have more than 200 active users on their database. So we know that it's well within limits. There are a few modules that I currently have to log into NOAA to update. Example, Phonak. How will this work? Well, you would log into NOAA ES, and then when NOAA is open, Phonak would presumably allow itself to be updated. I don't think Phonak is looking specifically at if you're logged into NOAA system. I think it's just looking for if NOAA is running properly, if the NOAA client is in the air. I haven't tested this, but I do believe that, depending on which module it is, it might be certified. All HIMSA certified modules are tested with both NOAA system and NOAA ES. So if it's a HIMSA certified module, well, we've tested it, and at least the functionality and so on work. Whether or not it updates automatically, I don't recall if that's part of our testing. It might not be. I don't think it's a requirement from our side. A size limit to the database, was that per user or for the entire organization? That's for the organization. Essentially, your NOAA ES account has a limit. The default is 2 GB, and then you can upscale that to 150. And if you're from an organization that needs more space than this, you can enter a special arrangement with HIMSA. So we can solve it. It's just a matter of, talking to us. Otherwise, you are, of course, welcome to go to noaes.com and go into our help desk, and you can also type in questions there. We will answer them. And otherwise, you will be welcome next time. If you open NOAA once in a while, you'll definitely see us there.